ProWrestlingSheet.com.
Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of Collider Body Slam SmackDown Live Recap. I'm jazzed because that show last night was capital letters kick ass. And I was loving it, didn't want it to end. And out of nowhere, just when I was about to get up and change the channel, RKO! So fantastic. I can't wait to talk about it here. I am John Rocha, the host of the show, joined as always by the CEO of Pro Wrestling Sheet. How are you, brother?
I'm doing great.
Ryan Satin. Ryan Satin, how are you, brother?
I am doing great.
Yep.
I felt the exact same way about SmackDown last night. It's like, that was the best. Oh, man, it was so good.
Yeah.
It was so good.
So good.
I'm very excited to talk about the show because I'm not a fan of having to be unhappy with what we watched. I much prefer to talk about how great things are.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of good things on the show last night. It was good things aplenty on SmackDown Live.
Mm-hmm.
Before we dig into the show, though, we should note, since we don't normally do them, but Royal Rumble is one of the big events, the biggest events of the year. So I'm planning right now. We're going to do a recap on Royal Rumble as well. For those of you asking, I'll put that up Monday morning. We'll record it on Monday morning. We might even get in early West Coast time just to get it out there and get it out to you guys in the morning as well. Try and get it out to you as soon as possible. So make sure you guys check out. Keep your eyes out for that on Monday morning.
Yeah, there you go. Royal Rumble. There's a lot to talk about coming into that show as well. But listen, this was the send-off show, last show before the Rumble this weekend. You know, they had to bring it because Raw kind of somewhat brought it last night. They really brought it tonight.
You know what's weird too is that because it was a go-home show and it was great.
Yeah.
Great. I wouldn't say it got me more pumped for the Royal Rumble though. It was just a great wrestling, right? Do you think that
it did for me?
It didn't advance a ton of storylines.
No.
Which I'm not. It shouldn't on the one before Royal Rumble. But normally the go home shows are a lot of times recap and kind of final hype.
Right.
I don't think we got a ton of Royal Rumble hype besides the last few seconds of the show that you were referring to.
Yeah.
But still. Great show.
What happens though? Okay, well, let's start off here. We have Asuka and Becky. Becky's in the ring first. Comes out to a massive pop.
I take it back. This did get me more hyped.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, this one
this
did.
is what I'm referring to. Not anything else, but this.
Yeah.
This, when she came out to massive pop, saying all the stuff about Asuka, saying how it would eat her up inside if she didn't beat the actual champion for the belt. Kind of goading Asuka. Asuka comes out. They go at it back and forth. She starts yelling Japanese. I feel like Becky's not just should start yelling at her back in some kind of Irish brogue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
Something that would be brilliant is in the back and forth having them go at it.
If she just started getting real Irish on her,
it'd be great.
The stuff that you probably wouldn't understand unless you're from there.
Deep.
Yeah. I also agree because you know what? It's funny. Or it's just great how entertaining Asuka screaming at someone in Japanese is.
Oh, yeah.
When you have no idea what she's saying. She could be saying the nicest things.
Yeah.
She could be saying, I love you, you're a great person, but just the intensity behind it is great. I love it. It's crazy how well Asuka's come across in this feud. She's kind of not in a bad way, but she's kind of I don't want to say dampen the flame of Becky Lynch a little bit, but it's weird how Asuka was just Teflon against all of it.
Yeah, well, I think in the hands of a lesser wrestler or a lesser personality, they could get forgotten. They could get not thought about. They could get run over by these two strong personalities in Charlotte and Becky. Asuka has held her own and at times even come out on top in the promo side or in the acting side of these back and forths, and that's been great to watch.
Yes.
And this was another situation too. She starts flipping out, doing what she's doing, and you buy it. You're really into what's happening, and you see Becky take a little bit of step. Because don't forget, Becky was just a face maybe 5 weeks ago or 2 months ago. So, it wasn't long ago that she was losing to these people like this. So see what she's doing here. There are little moments that you can catch in Becky's performance. And then Charlotte comes out, does her thing, the queen and all this. Now she's not the man. She's the main event. That was kind of smart to throw that in there. But then people on Twitter were going after her with this hashtag shoehorn Charlotte. And this is interesting to me how this is still happening. It's a very strong reaction the fans are having, both positive and negative, for Charlotte's mixture in this whole battle between Asuka and Becky. And Charlotte addressed how Becky had owned her for the last few months, but she owned the division for years. So it was everyone stated their presence really well. But then Asuka hits her from behind, Becky from behind. That shocked me. And Charlotte saying she's going to throw 20 on another. So here we go. The Royal Rumble is all women. All the women in that Royal Rumble from both brands. Did Charlotte kind of tip her hand here that she's going to win this thing?
I mean, I think it's pretty heavily foreshadowed right now that Charlotte is probably is a front runner, right? You would think like Charlotte. You would think like Charlotte. Really, Charlotte's like the only front runner right now. I can't think of anyone else like that is a possibility, at least in my opinion, right? Don't you agree?
No, I do, but a little piece of me knows how much they love Alexa. And would
I just think
that
be
I thought something?
I was going to say Charlotte or Alexa, right?
Right.
But then think of Alexa winning. Where do they go with that?
Yeah.
Like for WrestleMania-wise. If Alexa wins. Like what, they do Alexa versus Ronda again? That wasn't that
can't
good.
do. Yeah, well, unless she gets a revenge.
I just feel like that's a card that isn't as interesting.
I don't think it's a strong enough build-up yet.
No, me neither.
Her coming back from injury, the fact that he announced
especially because they've done so much with Becky and Ronda and Charlotte. Like, there would be a massive disappointment if there's not something involving the three of them at WrestleMania, I would imagine.
Well, I think something's going to happen. I just think it's so obvious that it feels like Charlotte's going to win that I'd be surprised if she won. Because the WWE loves to swerve. They love to swerve in certain moments. I mean,
could you see them doing?
Ember come out of this thing?
But think about it. You keep saying like these dark horses, but then like, what are they going to do at WrestleMania with an Ember Moon winning?
True.
You know what I mean? Like, it has to be.
But we don't forget the Elimination Chamber is before WrestleMania, so anything could happen where one person wins and then other people challenge, going, "I want that slot." Vince has a second thought, says, "You know what? You're right. This should be a triple threat," and then you have to fight again. It sucks because you won the Rumble. You should get the automatic shot. But I wonder. There's all kinds of games. But it does feel like Charlotte's going to win this thing. I can't deny that.
You're right in that regard. There are options available if you try and do a swerve on people or whatever.
If you're changing storylines, you say you're listening to the fans.
True. One thing that struck me while watching this segment was the fact that, and I hate to say because I think Becky Lynch is great, but I think this was one of those scenarios where it shows that like making Becky a tweener isn't as effective as Becky just being a strong heel.
I agree. 1,000,000%.
And I don't want to, I hate to be a dick, because I don't think it's being a dick saying that, but I just think, I hate to harp on the same tune, but like, the heel turn was great for her.
It was.
Now her trying to be like cool guy isn't as hot for her.
No, and the thing is, because they're how can I say this? They're softening the edges of her heel turn.
That's how I feel. They're softening
and it sucks.
And they're giving that heel edge to Charlotte now. And Charlotte but Charlotte is looking great because of it. You can't deny that.
Well, so could Becky. That's the thing.
Agreed.
They took Becky off of that track.
You know what the problem is that the fans didn't want Becky to be a heel. And like they were so against it that now they're like, well, we have to please people. We're against Becky being a heel, and because they were so now they're kind of like giving what everybody wants. But Becky was so great when she was just a dick. She was just a dick to everybody. That should have been Becky attacking Asuka from behind.
I hear you 1,000%. I think Becky I think the fans initially didn't like it, but then the fans got behind it. And so the fans getting behind it turned her into a Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think what Creative did by taking her shine and giving it to Charlotte for that evolution situation, because Becky got her face cursed because Nia was careless with her punch, that is where they fucked up. I think they should have let Charlotte just stay what she was and get beat. And I will not, I know you don't like saying, I know you're not, and I'm a fan. You've got way more inside sources than I do. I'm just a fan.
Yeah.
To me, it feels like Charlotte went to the back and said, "Oh no, I'm not going to be second fiddle to Becky, no way." Or somebody in creative said, "Oh no, we don't want Charlotte playing Becky second fiddle to Becky. We're going to give Charlotte the Becky push that Becky was getting organically." And now you've confused the fans and you've split the fan base where people are still fervently behind Becky from the pops. And with Charlotte, she has enough of a fan base that people like this new Charlotte, but not enough of the WWE universe is behind her, and that's a problem. So when you strip it all away, as great as these ladies have been on the mic with their promos and their matches in the ring as well, when you strip it away, this is kind of a clumsy situation they found themselves in.
Absolutely.
But I blame creative. It's nobody else to blame.
I was going to say, everything you said to me made sense. Everything you said to me made sense. I just don't think it was a Charlotte thing. I think that it was more a creative situation where it's like, hey, what do we do?
Right.
Becky got hurt. Becky's a firecracker on social media. We can't control her. What do we do? Well, how do we funnel that over to Charlotte? Right. That does not seem out of the realm of possibility. I mean, to me, they've totally been shaving the edges a little bit to make her nice.
Yeah.
Like, why did Asuka attack Becky last night?
Yeah,
like,
that's
Becky
weird.
should have attacked Asuka. Like, Becky is the man. Like, Becky was the cocky one, like I don't know, that part is frustrating me a little bit because I think that she was so much better when she was just a dick.
Well, it feels like NWO. When they brought NWO in, they had that promo for 10 minutes at NWO No Way Out at the beginning of NWO of that pay-per-view, and then they were a little clumsy, and then they beat the shit out of The Rock, and that was incredible. The ambulance, all of that. Yep. But then they shave the edges, they soften the edges, because God forbid they let the NWO run riot for a year over these stars like Stone Cold Steve Austin, who got the best of them. It's sometimes I think either it's the wrestlers who already have a status they don't want to lose, which is not out of the realm possible. We've seen many stars be political behind the scenes, or it's the WWE creative fumbling the situation and not looking at the bigger picture.
I think that it's that whole Shades of Grey thing. It's that whole. Vince looks at each wrestler not necessarily as a wrestler, but an independent revenue stream. You know, like they're all independent revenue streams, right? Okay. So like, look at these people less as people, which they are people. I'm not saying they're not people, but like in this scenario of business, like they're all independent revenue streams, and Becky Lynch's revenue stream was much lower than everybody else's with the goggles that she was selling and stuff. Yeah. Now I'm sure that man shirt is selling a lot.
I bought
and
one.
I'm sure her revenue stream is rising, and they look at it and they go, well, she's starting to push a little bit of merch now.
Yeah.
Maybe she shouldn't be a dick.
Oh, yeah, right. Because traditionally heels don't sell as much as faces.
You know what I mean? So it's like, well, maybe we'll have her be edgy,
right.
but maybe not a dick. And I think that's part of the problem is that like Becky's kind of like, she's still playing the character up, but she has been a little less dick than she was before. And I think that it's probably because they don't want her to stop making them money, you know, even though I think that is why she's making them money, and it's a weird counteractive balance. That is my guess.
Yeah, they need to follow that Stone Cold blueprint. That was laid out there. Follow that Stone Cold blueprint for Becky, and you'll be fine. Stop letting let other people get the best of Becky. Stop it. Asuka should not have been able to throw Becky into that ring or into the side of wherever that is where the fans sit. She shouldn't have been able to throw that. She should have there's so many situations where Asuka should not have been standing over Becky. That's not how you do it. You let her play the dick.
It's also like a matter of priorities.
Yeah.
Like, what's more important? The women possibly main eventing WrestleMania, or Asuka's title run being Asuka looking strong during her title run.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like the WrestleMania main event's more important.
Yeah, it is.
You should be getting Becky over.
Right. And fans are going to be like, well, you guys wanted Asuka to get a push. Well, I get it. Yes. But nothing's in a vacuum. Everything is connected.
Yeah.
You cannot think of one thing as a vacuum. So giving her the push at the sacrifice of Becky makes no sense.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. Yeah, I wanted the push, but not at the sacrifice of Becky, which is arguably one of the most popular female characters the company's had in a long time.
Yeah, and I argue that Charlotte didn't even need this heel push. She didn't.
No, she
Charlotte
didn't.
is status already.
Yes.
She's royalty in the fucking business. She's a legacy. We don't need her to have the status.
And she already has the edge to her.
Yeah. She already does, because she already played heel.
She already played
so
heel
well for so long.
You already know she's got that in her.
Of course.
Yeah, that's
Becky, we didn't know. That was new.
I did, but I don't want it to seem like I dislike this segment as much as we just said.
No, the segment's great.
The segment was very entertaining to watch. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like, I very much enjoyed this segment. I'm just, I'm thinking bigger picture, like similar to the Finn Balor thing yesterday. Like, I enjoyed the Finn Balor thing. I'm just thinking big picture here, because I did very much enjoy the whole segment as a whole. And I feel like, honestly, Charlotte has been raising her game up too. Like, I've really enjoyed Charlotte the past few weeks.
I can't deny that.
Yeah, so I didn't want, but I had to point that out, because it's something that was like killing me while watching it.
I agree with you, brother. That's what I'm saying. I think we can both agree. The ladies are doing incredible work with their promos and their matches. It's more a creative issue, and we'll see how it plays out at the Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber, if there's any of that involved as well. All right, Naomi and Mandy Rose had their finally got in a ring and went at it, and they gave Rose the shine on this one and
also,
the victory.
They had that weird package beforehand.
Yeah.
What'd you think of that package? You didn't like it?
Yeah, it was all right. I was like, okay, I get it, but are we ending the feud or are we not ending the feud?
What I liked about it, and this episode as a whole, actually, when it came to video packages, was it kind of felt like they were trying to break out of the mold of the package we've seen a bajillion times now to lead up to the Royal Rumble. Like we're going to get to it, but the Mustafa Ali one.
Right.
So good. And I know he had been doing those on 205 Live and before that on social media, but the fact they brought that to the main roster is awesome. Like that. Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Because, man, it was so cool the way it was done, that they, kind of interweaved what he was saying with the video package, with the video stuff. great work from the WWE video department. Man, like that was stellar. And I felt like this, while not as great, was at least they tried. Like with the weird with the voiceover thing, kind of like talking like it's a telenovela or something. Like, and then Mandy did this and that. It's at least better than the words on the screen they were trying to do for a while. I liked them going out of the box a little bit.
Yeah.
The match itself.
It was okay.
It was all right.
Yeah.
The ending was rough.
Yeah, the ending was bad.
I was trying to be nice, but
such a cop out.
It was rough.
Yeah, not because you can't script Mandy to win. I get it, but
just visually, did you see how it ended? Like it was just like they like Mandy didn't really throw her very hard towards the ring post on the apron, and she like hit it and crumpled down, and then Mandy just kind of like rolled her back in the ring uncomfortably. It looked awkward.
Well, even Sonya that was a blown spot with her trying to interfere with her legs before Mandy throws her in. So that was all kind of convoluted.
Very.
And then the way she hit the ring post. We see many people, like Rey hit the ring post 20 times in that match and wasn't counted out after that. So it's weird. That's the thing. The thing is, I don't mind that Mandy get the pin. It's you got to make it believable.
Me too.
Yeah, have her get caught a couple times with two separate strong moves and one finisher, and then you put her out. What's Mandy's finisher? There wasn't a finisher.
She has a finisher.
Right, but she didn't use it.
No, she didn't.
So what was the point? Have her hit the ring post, roll her in, do the finisher, then you get the pin.
Agreed.
That makes more sense.
I might be alone on this one. Yeah. I don't know. But one of my biggest grievances with professional wrestling in WWE, not professional wrestling, WWE in this day and age, is like the lack of importance on finishing moves.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they've devalued the finishing move. Yeah. Like, finishing moves like one of the best parts of wrestling. Like, that's that guy's finishing move. Yeah. And I get it, like kickouts or whatever, but like, just feel like even like there are a lot of wrestlers in WWE how you couldn't tell you you couldn't say what their finishing move is, and that bothers me. Like, even Seth just calling it like the stomp bothers me.
Yeah.
Come up with a name.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a finishing move.
Yeah.
That's a good classic part of wrestling is the name of a finishing move. Like it's part of the character. Like the song, the finishing move, and their name are like three things that build a wrestler, in my opinion, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you completely.
So I agree with you there. Yeah, it bothers me when someone doesn't use their finishing move to end a match, even if it's by nefarious means like that. They definitely could have still brought her in to do her finishing move, especially when it looked kind of weak like it did.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So I don't know what this proves at all. I mean, you push Mandy, so that makes sense because you want to make her a star, but the match was like, wasn't that many minutes.
No.
So the fact that
for sure, not very impressive.
And you kind of undercut Naomi. We've said Naomi deserves a shot.
Yes.
Asuka deserves a shot. Asuka's getting her shot. Naomi, not so much. She's involved in this feud for now, so it fills the time. But hopefully this leads to something bigger, because who's Mandy going to bring in to kind of counter Jimmy? Maybe it is Rey in some weird freaking way. The brothers break up.
Or
and
Jay,
have this,
you mean.
I mean, Jay, sorry. And they break up and they have this thing, possibly. But like,
I was like, Rey Mysterio's got kids, man. So does Jay, I think, too.
I think she probably does, too.
No, I would say, though, like, I do think Naomi is one of the best formed characters in the women's division.
Oh, yeah.
Mandy's making her way there, but like, man, I think Naomi is great. Like, don't get me wrong. I just felt like there was really, like, it just didn't click here. There was something off a little bit. But I think, like, honestly, Naomi's one of the coolest characters in the women's division. I think, like, she's got that cool song. She's got one of the coolest looks. She does have, like, signature moves, like, that you established with her. So, yeah, I am a big fan of Naomi. This match, it was just, something didn't click.
Yeah, you almost forget that she started with the Funkasaurus, the whole thing, and she kind of climbed out of that. She was on Total Divas for a bit.
She's still part of the cast.
Yeah, and then changed her, like when she was starting out. When she was starting out, she was on, and then like she's one of those rare people that changed her entire persona as a female wrestler and became even more successful.
Yeah, well, because they did take her off the show for a long
successful,
time. Yeah, they took her off the show for a while and then brought her back. And yeah, you're right, totally, absolutely. She's someone who's able to create a whole new character for herself outside of the Funkadactyls and all that kind of thing.
Which I didn't mind the Funkadactyls.
No, I didn't either. Yeah. I feel bad on Total Divas because I watched Total Bellas last night. I feel bad when they show someone who's been taken off the show. Like, it's Total Bellas, so I guess it's not a thing, but it's part of the Total Divas universe, you know? You know what I mean? Like, it's part of that.
The Totalverse.
The Total Divas extended universe, you know? And they showed Renee Young for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
And I always feel bad when they show the person's name because it was like, well, hey, that person was a character on the show. We know who she is. You don't got to show her name. Like, they don't show Nikki Bella. Well, they might still show their names.
Probably.
Maybe they do. I don't know.
They're still new viewers.
Yeah, I always feel bad when they show someone's name underneath those. Yeah. Total Divas or Bella's been pretty good this season.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's been pretty good this season. Because last night was their the SummerSlam stuff when they came back for SummerSlam.
Oh, right. All the shit that went down with that.
Yeah, I think the next episode is the Liv Morgan. I have a feeling the next episode is the Liv Morgan. Maybe next few episodes they're gonna. It seems like they're gonna touch on it.
Don't you talk me into this fucking.
Because Bree's been talking about how nervous she is for her comeback and how she's like got to get back in ring shape and like she's nervous because she's been a mom and like this is gonna be her final run. How excited she is for her final run, and then she's gonna like stop and have another kid and be done. And you're like, oh, you know what's coming. Like it's not often a reality show where you know what's coming. You're like, oh, I know what's coming. Yeah. It's not good. You're gonna have so much shit that happens right now. And you're watching it, it's like, oh no, Bree, no. It was great though. It was Daniel. Daniel and her trying to have another kid, and then she gets the call saying like that they want him to come back for SummerSlam, and he's like, well, did you tell them we're trying to have another kid? And she's like, no, I want to come back, and blah blah blah. So he's like, okay. So then she mentions to him that like she feels in this episode. She's kind of mentioned that she feels insecure with her body now. She wants to get a boob job to kind of like fix everything now that she had a kid and stuff. Wow. And Daniel's talking about how much he's like, no, it's very unnecessary. Like I'm very happy with your body. Like you don't need to do that. Like you're beautiful. Yeah. And she's like, well, I know, but she's like, I want to be comfortable with it. And he's like, well, what if? He's like, what if I got like a testicle tuck, Like I'm not gonna get like my balls lifted or something like that.
Right.
He's like, what, am I gonna have like high and tight balls? Like I don't care, She's like, no, it's different. Your balls are hidden at all times. My boobs aren't hidden, And it's like, it was great. This week's episode was funny.
I think she's lying because Daniel Bryan's balls are not hidden at all. He wears those briefs.
That's true. Well,
bikini briefs, so you can see his balls. You
wouldn't see like I had saggy balls in tights like that.
Yeah, so
in the underwear.
Some angles in those conquistador tights, that's for sure. Uncomfortable. I'll never unsee that. That's good. All right, well, is it a half-hour show or is it an hour show, the Total Bellas?
I think it's an hour. Yeah, it's an hour.
I don't have time for that. You don't have that. I would do the half an hour. I can't do an hour. I could do the half an hour.
Well, I mean, when you watch it without commercials, it's like a half hour.
No, it's 45.
Yeah, it's
yeah. I can't. The extra 23 minutes. I can't do.
I can't say
that.
I
can't do. Don't lie to me.
Don't lie to me. I cover TV, son.
One question though, I do want to ask you. I recently watched that clip with Ambrose and Renee when someone grabs Renee's hat. Was that real?
That's one of the most fake moments they've ever had in the history of Total Divas.
Never happened.
That was one of the most fake things they ever did on the show.
So that's the thing about honestly, the Total Divas, Total Bellas that bothers me. Some of the shit's scripted.
Honestly, they got into this like weird around the time Renee Young came in. Yeah. They got into this like we're gonna overly script the show.
That's when I stopped watching.
Yeah, they got Renee Young's
first couple of years were good.
It was a lot of the Renee Young storylines. Like I think Renee Young is great. I did not enjoy her on Total Bellas because Dean Ambrose is such a sheltered guy. It felt like all her storylines were very manufactured.
Well, and no offense, Renee Young is not a wrestler, and Renee Young is like above, in my opinion. Renee Young is above the wrestlers. She's a commentator.
Makes sense.
The wrestlers are they buy into the storylines. Their job is to convey the storylines and live within that stuff. And so she's not sure. Her job is to comment on it. And if someone offers her a big contract, she'll leave tomorrow. To go do sports someplace else. She's from Canada doing sports.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I also think that there was another storyline they did with her where there was like a fight in a nightclub in Vegas that was like ended up being like a giant gag that she had manufactured. She had like orchestrated, and it was a giant prank thing. And you were like, no, don't like that. Yeah. There's a lot of like, and I think Renee Young's great too.
She's
but
awesome.
I did enjoy her on Total Divas. And then after that, they kind of like kept doing those. Honestly, even last season, I kind of fell out of Total Divas last season because it was a lot of like overly scripted stuff. I didn't care about all the John Cena stuff. It was like really overly scripted feeling, even if it was real. It was overly scripted feeling. And they've kind of like gotten back into like the lives of the Bella twins and Total Bellas right now, and that's really what I watched the show for.
Well, that may bring me back then, because the first two seasons I watched, I liked because it felt like that was really happening between the people. You know what I'm saying? Like Natty's journey with the hard kid, the stuff that she was having with him and the issues with their relationship and were they going to get married? Were they not? Or are they going to stay married? Like all that kind of stuff was fun to watch and interesting to watch. And then Cena's struggle with Nikki, because Nikki really wants to get married and have the kids. All of that I watched because there's good drama in the reality of that kind of stuff.
There is real moments in there.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's getting back on track right now. I believe I believe that Nikki is trying to kind of like move on from John. So it's interesting to watch her moving on from that. It's interesting to watch Bree and Daniel kind of like both coming back to wrestling right now. So Yeah, I like it right now. I've been a fan of Total Bellas this season.
Yeah, and the weird thing with their mom and John.
Who and then his daughter's on the show now too.
So
and she was like, it seems like she's 16, but it seems like they want her to get into wrestling.
Oh God. No. Oh my God. Oh well. Okay, let's move on. The Miz and Cesaro. Should we talk about that?
Yes.
How do you feel about that? How it all went down? Because you're the one you've hated this whole thing with the Miz.
I have.
And Shane.
I'll say I enjoyed this the most out of everything that's involving them.
Yes.
I still really am not enjoying it, but I will say this is the least because there was less. What's the word I'm looking for? Not friction, but there was less like of that. Will they or won't they be friends type thing here? And they were like, no, they're friends.
Yeah.
I liked it a little more because it was like, I don't care about the will they or won't they between Shane and Miz. So the fact that they are now on the will they side of things, and they're doing it, and it seems like they're all buddy now. I liked that.
Okay.
Cesaro and Sheamus are great right now. Yeah. They're really doing well. I'm a big fan of the bar right now. I think they've been killing it ever since they brought it to SmackDown. Yeah. Their matches have all been great. Mm-hmm. Cesaro was great here. Yeah, I really liked it. I liked the segment. Yeah. I still don't like the storyline. Right. I don't really care. I really don't want them to win the tag titles on Sunday.
God, I hope that
they're going to. They're 100% going to. Right? I mean, there's no doubt about that, right?
That sucks.
Because the bar's been great. I really think that the tag titles help that. I don't want them to get lost just so they can continue this annoying Shane and Miz storyline. Yeah. How rad did that powerbomb looking thing look? Yeah. Oh, that was cool. Yeah. Because they took like the concept of like the Shield powerbomb and took out the third man and just kind of like, you know what it reminded me of? I just on me right now. It was like the Spirit Squad back in the day. They did like the Spirit Squad's old finisher. Except that one came from the floor, right? Like they picked him up off the floor and slammed him down like that. But it was similar in a way.
I thought it was great.
It was really cool looking.
That's why you give it to the Swiss Superman. Yes. It can do everything.
Yeah. And I also liked they teased Shane doing the table spot but didn't give it to us. Yeah. Because they did kind of roll my eyes. Of course, we're going to get the table spot before Royal Rumble. And then the fact that they spoiled his plans and then they threw him through the table, I liked that better. I thought that was entertaining.
And they got rid of the jokes. Like they took it all business.
Yeah, I think that's why I enjoyed this segment so much. That's a good point. Yeah. It was very not jokey. It was even though the Miz and Miz and Shane are a jokey team right now. I did feel like it was less jokey this match. It was like a real match between Cesaro and Miz, even though it was short. There wasn't like a lot of like shenanigans or whatever, except for the end. So yeah, I kudos. Cosign.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I hope they don't win the title, but you're probably right.
Of course they will.
Speaking of Shane,
they're going to.
His dad, Vince, moderated this back and forth promo between AJ and Daniel Bryan. This was very interesting to me to watch.
Did you like it?
As a politically active person, this was an interesting promo to watch because no,
I'm kidding.
Because you referenced the AJ Styles stuff in the last show.
Totally.
And like how you posted that and what happened with that. But this was, in essence, a political argument on a wrestling show.
Very much so.
And they turned the left side of things into the villain.
Which is so weird.
But people were cheering Daniel Bryan and some of the stuff he was saying. You could hear, there was some boos. There was certainly boos, but there were some cheers as well. And when AJ got the best of him, there were some boos for AJ. So this is an interesting thing. WWE always likes to rip the topical stuff from the headlines and put it in their shows. These two, everything Daniel was saying, you've heard people on the left say on CNN or other shows and say, like, how can these people keep voting for these billionaires who constantly don't care about them, would never give two shits about them if they're on fire, wouldn't stop to piss on them? Like, how can they pull the wool over their eyes consistently? And you people bow down to it. You bow down to it. Like,
baby boomers are baby boomers.
All of it. They gave it to Daniel Bryan. And Daniel Bryan is an environmentalist.
Yeah.
He is, in essence, kind of a left guy. So I found this to be fascinating in a sociological way.
Yeah, I shouldn't say that I can't understand the left being painted as a villain because obviously there's Fox News and stuff like that.
Of course.
And there are people on the left who aren't great. So it's not.
It's
not that
on both sides.
Yeah, on both sides. It's not that it's impossible. What I meant to say is that I was shocked that he got booed for saying stuff like, I'm trying to save the planet, like you baby boomers don't give a shit about anybody.
Right.
I I was surprised that those things got booed. It definitely tells to how talented Daniel Bryan is.
Oh, yeah.
And how good he is at getting that kind of stuff over. Same for Vince and the disdain in his eyes for this hippie environmentalist. Right. Get in the ring. Get in the ring.
I'm not going to tell you again. Get in the ring.
I'm not going to tell you again. Get in the ring. You know, like, that was so good. The like, frustration in Vince was so entertaining to watch. Of just him, like, boiling. I said, get in the ring. I loved all that. But yeah, you're right. No, on a political level, it was fascinating because you don't see them do that very often. Yeah. Especially one day after AJ Styles did that interview on the right, where I don't have any.
No, we're speaking about it.
No, I'm just saying, like,
as an analysis. Yeah,
because I got a lot of tweets about it. Like, I am getting a lot better with understanding the fact that people have different beliefs than me. Like, everyone's raised differently. Like, I don't look down at others for having different opinions than me. Like, well, to a certain degree, depending on how extreme it gets.
The opinion,
it depends on how extreme it gets.
Exactly.
But like even Vicky Guerrero was saying she's in support of the wall. Like, whatever, man. Like, you know, I mean, like, she does live close to the border. Right. She probably deals with certain things. Like, whatever, you know, like, but I was surprised to see them bring it into the show because of how heightened that is right now in the world. But man, I even saw people that are outside of wrestling that were tweeting this promo that were like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, so
they've been doing that.
I saw some people tweeting it outside of wrestling. Like, I saw Jensen Carp, who used to work in WWE, said, like, man, if they had let me write stuff like this, I would have stayed working at WWE, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that it was cool to see that. I think that, you know, as a child, even I learned things from watching stuff like that. I learned things from the Attitude Era.
Sure.
You know, like, they might not have been as deep as Saving the Planet and stuff like that, but I learned things in the Attitude Era.
Puppies! Yeah.
I did see my first boobs watching WWE.
There you go.
I also learned what 420 was watching WWE.
What was the boob? Was it
Miss Kitty, yeah. No, Miss Kitty.
Oh, Miss Kitty. That's
when
right.
She first went topless.
Right.
I was watching that pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also learned, like, what 420 was because of WWE, but also things beyond that. You know, like, those are just the first two that come to my mind, favorites. But yeah, like, I like them bringing stuff like this to the show.
It brings a certain level of authenticity or rawness to the for lack of a better term, rawness on SmackDown between these two, because AJ's clearly one side, Daniel's one side, and I wonder how much of it they discuss before they go in and do this.
All that was
okay.
Oh yeah. Right. But I still like that. Like, we got the woke warrior versus versus Georgia boy, you know, and like it went from less being like, you know, it went less from like who's the better wrestler to it's kind of being like the left versus the right in this feud between the two of them, and I kind of like that. You know, I'm wondering if it's gonna lead to WrestleMania, and we're gonna continue with Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles in some kind of big match at WrestleMania to continue on, because you know what, they could. It's a thing that's easy to manipulate right now. I mean, that's
down the house.
That's Vince McMahon's bread and butter, being able to take things like that and finding ways to sprinkle into the show a little bit. And honestly, I think the only reason he hasn't is because of his wife's involvement in politics.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Because in the past, he's done that. No problem.
Yeah, but ever since
and ridiculed both sides.
But ever since his wife got involved in politics, you saw a lot less of it. I mean, they had like Obama and Roseanne on the show back in the day. Well, not the actual people, but they had the characters of them and stuff. So it's not like Vince is not okay. Shies away from that. I mean, even Jack Swagger and what's his face, Zeb Coulter.
That's
when
he was making fun of it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I could definitely see him utilizing this maybe all the way to WrestleMania if Miz and Shane win the tag titles, because I feel like if Miz and Shane win the tag titles, all possibility of Daniel Bryan versus Miz reverse at WrestleMania of like heel Daniel Bryan versus face Miz is out the window. I would think, right?
I think Bryan and AJ is the lineup now for WrestleMania. Maybe like a no DQ table ladders show, something like that.
I think so too.
Yeah,
unless they go with a multi-man match.
Possibly, because
like
maybe
throwing
they
Samoa Joe in there,
and
like someone else to do that match alone. Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, and Daniel Bryan in a 3-way at WrestleMania would probably steal the show. For the WWE title.
If you throw in Almas, maybe.
Ooh, wait, how? Ooh, I like that.
That's a great force.
I really like that.
Yeah.
I really like that idea. I think
that why it won't happen, because we both really like it.
That would steal the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
No questions asked.
Absolutely. Oh, speaking of Samoa Joe, he took on...
I want to see that match. Damn it. They got it. That's a great idea.
That's why you have a video game.
That's a great idea.
That's why
they should... Honestly, that'd be... I know that most people like one-on-one title matches, but we're already going to get that with the Universal title. We're going to have other ones like that. Man, that 4-way, fire.
I think it obviously, and this is not going out on a limb or anything.
What about Rey Mysterio?
That's what I'm saying. Everything depends on what happens to Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, true.
If they wrap up the AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan thing in Elimination Chamber in some kind of like Hell in a Cell match, and they wrap up Almas and Rey at the Elimination Chamber, then maybe there's possibilities, but I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot still to be worked out as it goes along. And speaking of Samoa Joe, he took on Mustafa Ali. A really quick match, surprisingly so, but still a very good match. I thought with the minutes we had with them, Joe getting the best of him, Mustafa getting a little bit of a run there, but then Joe with the coquina clutch kind of putting this thing away. And the thing is, I'm watching this, I'm like, well, in the past I would be like worried that a new talent coming up is getting these losses, but with Mustafa, it seems like the fans just are with him, win or lose, and that's a rarity with these new talents coming into a main roster. And I think Mustafa can survive the losses because he looks like an underdog who's learning the game at this level, and we like what he's doing in the matches, win or lose.
It's exactly how I felt watching this match. I was thinking 100% the exact same thing while watching it. That while people were being like, oh, Andrade, and he's losing. It's not like that. Yeah. Even though he's losing, it's very much like he reminds me of like the Sami Zayn of SmackDown almost, where like you don't care that he's losing because you're like, you see that he's the underdog and he's fighting from the bottom and he's coming up and that's gonna lead to like a big moment when he finally wins the big one. And so it was almost like we were talking on the Raw recap about superstars. Yeah. And we were saying like the jobber matches and the enhancement talent or whatever, how effective that was. Yeah. It's almost like the reverse of that, of like getting the enhancement talent over, of like we've got this like killer enhancement talent where he's going to go out there, he's not going to win. Yeah. But he's going to put on a match that you're not going to forget. Like you're going to remember that match, you're going to think he was awesome, you're going to be fighting for him while watching it. Yeah. And eventually that's going to lead to a moment where he finally gets one over on like a big time wrestler, like in a main event where you're like, oh shit, kind of like he did with Daniel Bryan initially. So I think that I loved everything they do with Mustafa Ali. I agree wholeheartedly that I don't need to see him win every match. I think that you just need to see him go out there and give 100% every time, and that he's fighting for you. And then eventually he'll climb that situation. So when he starts winning, you'll feel like as a fan, yes, I was with him from the beginning when he was losing and learning how to get to this state. And it's that mental thing. I really think that's their mindset with him right now. It's smart. It's very smart, and it really seems like that's their plan of just like, hey, we plucked this guy off of 205 Live that people like because he seems like a genuinely nice person. Yeah. Let's broadcast that to millions of people and let him keep watching him lose, and you're fighting with him. I think that's great booking. Great booking all around. Agreed. All right, let's get to the, for lack of a better term, the crown jewel of this particular episode. Uh-oh. That is the 2 out of 3 falls match between Rey Mysterio and Almas. Holy shit. I mean, I said this to Ryan when he came. I was like, that match should have been on a pay-per-view. It was so incredible. The back and forth team and the moves that they were doing. Yeah, there was 1 or 2 botched stuff, but that's okay in a high-flying move. Especially when you're going high octane like that. Yeah. Hey, there was no like downtime. There was no wrist lock for 5 minutes. No, it was like back and forth, off the ropes, outside, double moves, or double spin, jump moves, whatever. It was nuts to watch. And they covered the 1 or 2 mess-ups there were. Like I remember the one where they were like, oh, Ray didn't get all of that or whatever. But yeah, this was like such a masterful performance. Yeah. Like you don't see main events like this on SmackDown very often. No. Like, and granted we got one with last week or whatever, but prior to that, especially with just some of the maneuvers they're pulling off, that powerbomb was insane. Yeah. That powerbomb where he like went for the Dragon Rana type thing, caught him, held him up. Picked him up, moved up a rope, then went up to the top rope, backwards walking, and then to sit out powerbomb from the top rope. I gasped. Yeah, I actually gasped. I went like, "Oh, what?" Like while watching it, that whole match is like it's just like I don't know the words because I enjoyed it so much. I mean, they were just killing it. I mean, I honestly think. I don't want to say it because I'm gonna have like a bunch of like New Japan fans in my in my grill or whatever, but like that was up there with like some of the like matches that you see people saying like match of the year type stuff. Yeah. I mean, that was. You can argue that. Yeah, no,
NJPW stuff. You can argue that it's at that it was at that level with the amount of time that they had on TV, with the restrictions they had. They were able to pull off incredible match in like 9 minutes with these phenomenal moves that you would normally see dragged out through a 30-minute match on NJPW
or
whatever, 45-minute match.
I think it was that long.
Was it
match.
Okay.
I think it was like 30. Well,
okay, maybe it was.
I have to look it up. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But to be honest with you, like, and maybe I have to go back and watch it again. It also factors in that it was at 3 a.m. or whatever, when I was 4 a.m. when I was watching Wrestle Kingdom. But I think I enjoyed this more than like Kenny Omega's match at Wrestle Kingdom. Like, this was killer, dude. Like, they were doing stuff that, man, like, for Rey Mysterio being his age, for him being 44 years old, I mean, I just think that we talked about it last week a little bit, but I further believe that he's one of the best wrestlers of all time. Rey Mysterio is one of the best wrestlers of all time.
Yes, agreed.
We talked about it on the show last week, and I kind of went a roundabout way of saying it because I mentioned Chris Jericho and stuff too. But last night, I tweeted about it. I'm just saying, like, is it safe to call him like one of the best wrestlers of the modern era? A lot of people responded like, no, not even modern era, just all time.
Yeah,
like, Rey Mysterio is one of the best wrestlers of all time. One of the most innovative, one of the most popular, one of the most he's one of the best wrestlers of all time.
He is one of the rarest wrestlers in that way too, in terms of popularity. Right? He's a luchador wrestler that was able to cross over into the mainstream heavyweight division. And with believability and credibility, has been the champion in that division. You can count on your hand and maybe only get to one finger the number of luchador wrestlers that have held the top belt in a company as big as the WWE. And he did it. And he did it because he got over with the fans who didn't just marginalize him as a cruiserweight or whatever. There was more here. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you could throw Eddie possibly in there. You can throw Benoit or other.
Let's not throw Benoit.
Jericho, or you could throw. Yeah, right, fair. But like Rey was always
murder someone.
Yeah, okay, Rey, great. Rey was always smaller and thinner than those guys. But only now is he a little bit like stockier, bigger because he is like he's the man weight. He's an older man. That naturally comes on. So he just now even more so than ever conveys that he belongs in this conversation of beyond just luchador wrestler, greatest wrestlers of all time.
Do you think that Rey Mysterio could believably be world champion again?
Here's the deal. More so than Kurt Angle. But I think if Goldberg can do it, I think anything is possible.
Not Universal title. I don't think Rey Mysterio is going to win the Universal title ever. But WWE title. Do you think that before he officially retires, before this run in WWE is over, he'll win the world title one more time?
I think it's certainly possible. And here's why. He's getting Almas over here. Almas is really now becoming someone people like are noticing in the SmackDown universe.
It's helping a lot.
Yeah. So if he goes down the line and wins the belt, how great would it be down the road, way down the road? How great would it be to see Rey pop up as like almost like a De Niro? You never knock me down. You never, coming and saying, I want a shot at this or blah, blah, blah. And then maybe he gets that. Look, Hogan won back that belt how many years after he won it from Triple H?
Well,
so the possibilities exist.
I do feel, and I think that's why I'm putting Rey Mysterio in the category of like one of the best wrestlers of all time now, is like, there's only a handful of guys who've been out of the limelight a little bit. Like Rey Mysterio didn't retire, but he was out of the limelight a little bit.
Went to other federations,
Underground, but he was kind of like out of the huge public eye, I think, a little bit. There's not many that come back to WWE with that big of a gap or whatever, and are still performing at that level.
Yeah.
Like there's Shawn Michaels, there's Ric Flair. I mean, Hulk Hogan did it, but I don't think you could say he's like performing at that level or anything like that.
You could argue Jericho, if he was to come back, would be at that level again.
Jericho is still. Jericho is still at that level in New Japan and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's why I put him there. I would be totally okay with seeing one more world title run or WWE title run from Rey Mysterio. Man, and it's crazy that at his age, he's still innovating. Like that, move he did where there was the sunset flip to the outside that power bombed Andrade into the barrier.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like crazy, man. Like you're 44 years old and you're still innovating.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Like people at that age are usually relying on the spots that they made famous when they were 20.
Right.
Rey Mysterio is like, nah, man. Like I honestly think that's why he has the mohawk on his mask. Because he hasn't really talked about it that I've heard.
Yeah.
But from what I'd seen pictures-wise is that was like the first mask he had in wrestling, had that mohawk.
Right.
And I'm wondering if he feels like this has been a rebirth for him, that he's got like the old man's mind and a young man's body again because he did the stem cell stuff on his knees.
Hey-o.
So I think that,
Get
man,
that Kobe stuff. Yeah.
but man, yeah, I think Rey Mysterio is so good.
Yeah.
And I think Andrade, obviously, is great.
Almas is fantastic in this whole thing.
He is just proving that he is a star. Yeah. And I will be so freaking angry if they just are like, okay, well, we ran out of like really cool Mexican dudes for him to feud again, so let's just kind of put him back to where he was once this is over. Like, no, this is proof that like Andrade should be in the main event against anybody.
Now the possibility, I think it was very interesting, and I don't know if there was what was going on backstage or anything. Zelina was not present, right, during this match?
No.
This is interesting.
Why do you say that?
Because is a face turn in the offing with Cien Almas coming up versus Daniel Bryan.
Interesting.
Is there a possibility, well, I could do with Lana, right? Now that they put, Rusev into the face conversation, Lana is less and less around him because of how she radiates the heel stuff. Is this the same thing happening here with Zelina and with Almas? Maybe they're waiting a little bit because he's getting over the fans and they're really respecting his abilities, and he's not doing any heel shit during the matches.
No.
They didn't do almost any heel stuff last night.
No, and I do think that...
No eye pokes, no kicks in the neck, nothing.
I do think that they could see a tag team between the two of them down the line. That this could maybe be similar to The Bar.
Hell yes.
Where like they have like a long feud and then they tag together.
Hell yes.
I tweeted the other day about...
I'll take that over Lucha House Party any day. No offense to Grand Metalik.
Were we talking on here about me getting all that crap on social media for saying I wanted to like see Rey Mysterio and Andrade form a stable? Did we talk about that?
No, you told me about that.
I told you about it. Okay, off camera. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But I brought that. When I said that, people were like, I said that they should form like an LWO type, like,
please,
like Los Ingobernables type stable. And everyone was like, that. There was people that were like, that's racist, borderline racist.
What?
And I was like, because I want Mexican guys in a stable together. Like, I'm Mexican. Like,
yeah.
I don't think that's racist for me to want to see people that are the same as me in a stable together. And I was so confused.
And a famous stable that didn't get the run it deserved to get because that crew was a badass crew.
I think that when I brought it up, though, one of the main things I said, because I said something like, I'd like to see Andrade, Rey, Sin Cara, and Punishment Martinez form a stable together, because I think they need one big guy. I like when stables have one big guy. So
maybe it's Gage.
All right,
Bring in Gage. That guy can fight. Here's I'm going to show you this. This just popped up on WWE over the last couple of weeks.
I know, I've been wanting it. Trust me, I've had to stop myself from buying it a few times.
It was not on the site.
No, it's been there for a minute.
It just showed up recently.
It's been a few weeks because I've tweeted about how I want to buy it. I've thought about how I wanted to buy it.
If they bring an LWO, because I've seen the LWO over on the other sites, Pro Wrestling Tees, they've had the LWO forever.
It's been there longer than you think.
Okay.
But they've been promoting it more on social media. That I have noticed. I have noticed them promoting the LWO more.
If the LWO comes back, there'll be no two bigger fans than the guys in this room, probably.
Don't tell Twitter that, because I said that how I was excited that I'd be for that, and everyone was like, "This one guy literally called me a borderline racist for putting four Latino dudes in a stable together in my head for fun while probably taking a poop while I'm just like thinking out loud while looking at wrestling. So I wasn't putting that much thought into it, but
people shouldn't tweet after they got hit in the head with a brick. That's not what comes out. What comes out is not good.
But one of the people who didn't dislike the idea, one of the main things they were all saying was, well, what about Zelina? Like, you can't make Rey a heel, and Zelina's too good as a heel to turn as a face.
Right.
So you mentioned it, I didn't think about that, but maybe they are. Maybe they were trying to see what he would look like, just the two of them together without Zelina there. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. It's curious. So maybe Zelina was handling other personal business. I don't know, but it's curious.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Before we close, because I feel like we should mention this real fast.
Yeah.
That New Day promo was so funny.
Oh, my
God.
God.
Honestly made me had me in tears.
Yeah.
When he was like, they just about Tony Chimmel, and then Tony Chimmel popped up, and they were like, no, there's no Edge here. Do you see Edge around? Edge isn't here. Get out of here, Chimmel. Oh my God. I was laughing so hard when then when they started singing Kayla's name as she walked away, and they were oh, Kayla, and they were all in harmony together. So good. I love New Day so much. I also liked how when it was almost like watching a Saturday morning like watching New Day sometimes is like watching like a Saturday morning cartoon made by stoners because it's like
absolutely.
when Kofi got like sad and he dropped his head down and they both put their hands underneath and lifted his head up together and then he was like, no, I can't think of the idea. I loved it so much. They're great. Everything about New Day, I love so much, and that was an example of it.
Every time I think they've hit their wall of like inventiveness or creativity, they constantly come with new stuff.
Yes,
it's incredible.
It really
watch
is.
Their ingenuity and I don't know who on creative is working with them. If anybody in creative, if they are. Kudos to them as well, because it isn't just creating the stuff; it's making it natural to the actor, to the wrestler performing it. And they have found all three of them have distinct voices, and then when they come together, they have commonality and similarities that work with all their sketches and promos. And man, that Christmas special alone, my God, it was one of the most. You had to be high to enjoy that thing.
I'm shocked they haven't tried to do a New Day movie of some sort. Like, they have their own studio.
Don't even joke.
I'm shocked they haven't tried to do, like, a buddy comedy of the three of them.
Right.
Would be so easy to do.
Don't even joke.
Right?
That would be awesome.
Because I feel like the three of them are characters amongst them. It'd be like, and I'm not trying to say this in a demeaning way, because I just can't think of a comparative thing, but it'd be like a new school Three Stooges, where like, they are three very distinct characters. You could easily take the Three Stooges model of like, they hit each other sometimes, they get into wacky hijinks, and they're zany. You could easily make a movie out of that. Like, no, it wouldn't be difficult at all.
Right, yeah, and I agree. And those, and of course, we're not saying they would be like the Three Stooges.
I just meant in terms of physical comedy, three people,
the hijinks,
all that kind of thing. Like, you could easily
absolutely.
make a buddy comedy with the three of them. And I was more just saying, like, to steal the gimmick a little bit of the Three Stooges, because I could see, they do kind of have like a Three Stooges vibe to them, like a Xavier Woods is like Mo, who's like in charge of them, right? Mo's the one with the black hair, right? He's like the Mo who's in charge of them, and then like
Big E's Curly, and then Kofi's Larry,
right? They are kind of Three Stooges-esque for 2018. I don't mean that in a mean way, because Three Stooges is one of the most legendary acts of all time, but they have that kind of vibe to them. Yeah. I would love to see that.
I agree. I'd be down with that. We should wrap up by saying Samoa Joe jumped in and interfered in this match, made it a DQ match or a no contest match. And just when Joe was talking about how this is what he's going to do, the statement he's going to leave, a Royal Rumble, everybody should be scared, out of nowhere, like a meme come to life, RKO from Randy Orton. Maybe my favorite thing he's done in the last 6 months, and it was damn awesome. Yeah, didn't even need to say a word.
It's just you're going to see him next week and feel the exact same opposite. You're going to feel the opposite way. You're like, oh man, Randy Orton's back. I know you. I know wrestling fans, because I was the same way. It happens every time. When Randy Orton's been gone for a long time, and then he comes running in with that RKO, you're like, oh yeah, Randy Orton. And then like a week from now, you're like, okay, Randy Orton's back, And
like, storyline now. Oh my God.
Especially because, like, why is he a face now?
Yeah, I don't
Everyone was like cheering Randy Orton. I was like, when did Randy Orton become a good guy?
Yeah.
But
Randy Orton, Samoa Joe would be a fun match.
Yeah.
A little program possibly. We'll see.
Oh, you think that's what they're going to do with Randy for WrestleMania? Randy versus Samoa Joe, Randy as a face?
Maybe. Again, we have to see what Elimination Chamber gets.
Yeah, you're right.
It's tough to say.
I'll stop making predictions.
I know we got to run. Do you want to have any predictions about Royal Rumble before we go? Do you want to go through the matches like real quick?
No, maybe if we do a preview or something, because we're going to do the recap anyways. Okay. So whatever.
All right. There you go. All right. Well, everybody, that's our recap of SmackDown Live last night. Thanks so much for watching Collider Body Slam or listening to Collider Body Slam. Ryan, you want to tell them where they can follow and watch all the stuff we do?
ProWrestlingSheet.com. That's the website. At Wrestling Sheet on social media. YouTube.com/C/Wrestling Sheet. That's where the videos are that we do throughout the week. We got the recaps that Rocha and I do. We got Wrestling Sheet Radio, random videos that I make here. We got one with Poppy that I did recently. I did wrestlers reading fun facts about wrestlers a few weeks ago. There's lots of fun videos on there. Please go subscribe. To those of you who have been subscribing, thank you so much. We've gained a lot of followers in the past few weeks. In the past like 30 days, I was astounded by how many followers we've gained. So thank you so much for all of you doing that. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers. I badly want to get there because that's awesome, obviously, and I want to get the word out to as many people as possible. So please keep subscribing. Please keep sharing the videos if you like them and spreading the word. Please keep clicking the like button, commenting. I've been I once in a while will tweet my favorite comments. Just in general, please keep sharing those. It really, really helps a lot. If you only want to listen to the audio of these shows, if you're one of the people watching the video right now, hello, go to Podcast One to listen to the audio for our Wrestling Sheet Radio feed. You can also find it on iTunes, on Spotify, on Stitcher, on Podbean, on all the major platforms. So go make sure you check that out as well. And keep your eye on everything that Collider here is doing as well.
Yeah, there you go. All nailed down. There you go. You can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and Instagram. Tweet me all your thoughts about wrestling. I love responding. And thanks again, as Ryan said, thanks to everybody who's following and subscribing and talking about our recaps. It's a blast to do this every week. Get to talk wrestling with Ryan Satin and hear from you guys, both positive and negative. It's always fun to have good conversations about this kind of stuff. So thanks everybody for watching. Enjoy the Royal Rumble this weekend. We will have our recap of it on Monday. And of course, Tuesday and Wednesday do our SmackDown Live and Raw recaps on Body Slam. So thanks and enjoy your weekend. Bye.
ProWrestlingSheet.com